To the Harold Perkins interview, you're fired up as hell because I just did, and I'm fired up as hell. It is game week. Go bust somebody right in their mouth. No pause at all. No pause. Now, in player interviews today, there was something interesting. We don't talk about player interviews a lot. Actually, we've never really on this show talked about player interviews. There have been a couple of instances, at the end of 2019 when Joe Burrow said we're going to win a national title. Well, yeah, that's pretty relevant. When Will Campbell said against USC, we're going to stomp their faces in and run all over them. Well, that got clipped and got really, really taken out of hand. Newsflash, we didn't. But there was something said today by LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier that I found very intriguing. The very intriguing thing is that Garrett Nussmeier said, I've been here for 5 years, and this is by far the most competitive camp that I've ever been through. No shit. No shit. There was a post on another message board that came out about your boy, and people were clowning your boy. Didn't say anything because I take my evaluation very seriously. I take my eyes very seriously. And in that evaluation, I said that there were days in this camp that were more competitive under Brian Kelly than we've seen ever. Well, either I'm lying, Garrett Nussmeier's lying, or everybody else is lying. But I'm going to take my word, and I'm going to take Garrett's because it's the God's honest truth. Here is the truth. Guys, the one thing that I hold very dear about this season, it's not close, is that I don't know what is going to happen on Saturday. No clue. I have speculations and opinions just like you do. But one thing that I can rest my head on the pillow at night knowing, and what you should as well, is that quite honestly, over the last month, I feel like that this team has given you everything they got, especially defensively. They've given you everything they've got so far. Can they translate that onto the field? Will be another thing. And listen, I'm still going to tell you people in the chat that are disrespecting Clemson, saying that they're a god-awful team. Guys, no, they're not. And if you still think that they are and you're still the people in the comments saying that, then don't you say shit about it being a good win at the end of the season when you're trying to vie for a playoff spot. Don't you dare. Because you can't reverse fields then. But I did just listen to the Harold Perkins interview, and I got to tell you, I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. What are you going to do about it? The last 5 years, LSU has not been able to win a game one. We all know it. It's what everybody talks about from a national perspective. Oh, my God, is LSU going to win a game one? Yeah, they're going to continue to talk about it until you change something. But you got to change more than just the outcome of what happens on Saturday. You got to change what happens in that locker room. You got to change the physicality on the field. There are things that you can control, and only you can control. If you change the parts of your culture and game that you can control, you're going to be fine. It's a mentality thing, y'all. It's a mentality thing. For whatever it's worth, as I just mentioned, I know what my eyes are seeing. Garrett Nussmeier lived it when he said that this was the most competitive camp he's ever been through, because it has been. Because defensively, the last 2 years, guys, quite honestly, you haven't been any good. I thought last year, schematically, you were a lot better. Defensively, you didn't have the personnel to compete with these teams. You didn't. Now you think you do. And now that you do, go out there and take it to somebody. So we'll get into that. LSU's do's and don'ts, we'll get into that as well. Dabo Swinney previews the LSU game. Got to give Dabo a lot of credit. Man, he talked pretty openly about LSU and gave him some superlatives, especially Brian Kelly. We'll talk about some of the things that Dabo Swinney said about his team as well. Carter Bryant joins us at 7:30, so we got lots and lots that we need to get to. And you know what? One thing This will be the only mention for your boy. And I hope Carter doesn't come in here talking about this. Tonight, we're not talking about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. We just aren't. We're not going to do it. I don't care that they're engaged. I could care less. Good for them. I hope they're married for the rest of their lives. I hope they make beautiful babies. Good for them. But I could care less. The only thing I care about is Fox and YouTube TV coming up with a deal together. That's all I really care about right now. And taking care of my family. It's the only couple things you should really be worried about at this given time. All right. Let's get rolling here. Before I get rolling, I need to tell you all a big thank you. This month, the month of August, is going to be the biggest month in AYS Sports' history. Over 3.5 million views and downloads this month. 3.5 million on the live shows and downloads this month. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, for subscribing, for being a part of this show. You know, in 2019, 2020, when we started this, and it's funny, me and my wife were having this conversation with somebody today. A gentleman asked me today what I did for a living, and he was around our house fixing some appliances. And he said, hey, how long did it take you for the podcast to take off? And we said, well, it took a little minute. And it's so funny that that question was asked, because now I start to think about, and now that, you know, we do our numbers at the end of the month, this being easily our biggest month, all I can say is to thank you all, to all of you. I have no idea how I am allowed to do this. I don't. I legitimately don't. But I thank all of you for allowing me to do it. It is going to be a massive season for us. It's going to be a massive season for the program. It's going to be a massive season for AYS Sports. I thank every single one of you for everything that you do here. Every single little thing that you do, because you do not have to be there here, and I know that. From the bottom of my heart, you allow me, all 3.5 million of you, I don't know if it's that many of you, but all of you that are in here, you allow me to do this. And I have never been more grateful for something in my life. The practice reports, the live shows have been absolutely killing it. The audio side of things, guys, we have doubled this month in every single show and what we do. Doubled. Thank you all so much for allowing me to do this. I am just a dude, man. I am just a guy. I mean, I'm just like you. I have a very strong passion. My very strong passion is this thing right here for everybody listening to the audio podcast, or if you're on FanDuel Radio. The only thing I care about is those three little letters. I adore and always will adore talking about those three little letters. So thank you so much. That is my Rafino's rants for the night. Y'all have done so much for me. Thank you. Because I get to live a dream. Whew. My wife's in there cooking, cutting onions. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. All right, let's get moving here. Everyone do us a favor by hitting the like and share to all those groups. If you're on Facebook and to all those social media pages, you're watching us, listening to us on YouTube, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, notification bell wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Where are you listening to from tonight? By the way, here's something interesting. We had somebody that was in South Africa that sent into the show last night, and I missed it. South Africa. Somebody must have been late night, early morning. I don't know. But all over the world, you're listening to your LSU Tigers and the preview of the game. So I'm greatly appreciative for everybody. Billy says, thanks. Now let's go beat Clemson's ass. Listen, I know what it's going to be if with this post-game show. By the way, for all of you that are listening and watching, I feel that we're going to be the only post-game show here in town that's right after the game. If that is the case, you know where to be. You know where to be. But in reference to that, yes, this show will kill it if they win. People will not show up if they lose. I'm telling you. Holden Broussard's in Opelousas, Maine. Good to have you in here with us. Tech Phenom is in Richmond, Virginia. Richmond. L.A. Dave is in the 985. The great 985. Good to have you along in here with us. TD says Louisiana is like anywhere else. We got people everywhere. Literally. South Africa, TD. South Africa, man. Like, I mean, I missed it. And then Brandon backstage is like, hey, man, did you see the guy that said he was listening to us from South Africa? And I'm just like, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Mickey is in Linden, Tennessee. Good to have you along with us. Alex is in the 318, great, but he's working in Evansville, Indiana. I hope that when you're working on Saturday, if you're working on Saturday, that you're able to watch the Tigers. AJ Bama is in the 205. Good to have you along with us as well. And Terry Delahousse, excuse me, is in the 337. New Iberia. Stand up and stand proud. Drust is in the 937 by the way of the 337. That's really interesting. Gotta love it. Andrew says postgame, no matter the result, will probably be booze heavy. Oh, I know. I'm very much hesitant on taking phone calls if we lose. If we win, I'm a little hesitant. But phone calls will be back, man. They will be back. All right. $10 super chat from Frank. Then we're getting moving here. Frank Castle says, Blake, and thank you, Frank, always for sending in the super chat, says, look into my soul and tell me Dabo doesn't think LSU is winning the game. He knows. I know. I know you watched his press conference. Clemson dies. They don't escape this. He did seem a little hesitant. All right. Here's the thing, though. Guys, I think it's, as I've said for weeks, literally, go watch our Service Talk video from 3 weeks ago. Harold Perkins said it today. Look, dog, it's going to be a dogfight, Frank. Like, I see so many people in the chat on our content talking about they're not any good. They suck. Garrett Nussmeier's progressed. Well, guys, if Garrett Nussmeier's progressed, so can Cade Klubnik. Like, you can't do that. You can't move the goalpost and have the purple and gold glasses on. We got to look at this relatively. I do think in Frank's point here, Dabo was very hesitant in some things that he said. He was very cautious in what he said, that's for sure. All right, everybody do us a favor and hit the like and share. Let's talk about our good friends over at Service Talk Digital Media and Service Talk Digital Marketing. With the right lead, smart systems, and real growth, get a marketing system that works for you today. Go to servicetalk.io. That's servicetalk.io. If you specialize in HVAC, generator work, or if you're an electrical pro, go over to servicetalk.io today. If you own a business, run a business, you need to get over there as well. Get to the best marketing team inside the state of Louisiana. The Capital One best marketing firm inside the state of Louisiana is our good friends over at Service Talk Digital Marketing, Service Talk Digital Media. Get over there today. Let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. We will be there on Thursday. Massive deep dive from Service Talk coming on Thursday. All right, let me get to a quick break. LSU do's and don'ts. One massive statistic that Clemson was horrendous in last year that LSU is going to have to exploit to win this football game. We talk about that next. Let us get to a quick break. When we come back, we get into that. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick. All right, let's get to it here. Perkins wearing the green dot, by the way. Let me throw this out there to you. Harold Perkins wore the green dot a season ago. What is the green dot? Just in case people forgot. So coaches now have communications inside the helmets. The green dot is to identify the person that has the communication in their helmets. From what I understand, Harold Perkins is going to be wearing that again. You're not going to be taking people off the field with that a lot. So something that's very interesting to me is that Harold Perkins coming out today and talking about wearing the green dot. It's very interesting. A lot of people saying, oh, he's coming off the field. I saw the guys over at College Football Nerds talking about that. I mean, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't really know about that. All right, let's get to it here. So it is Tuesday of a game week, so you know what that means. LSU's do's and don'ts, things that LSU must do and not do for them to be victorious this upcoming Saturday. You know, looking into this game with LSU versus Clemson, I really feel as if that there has been a lot of talk in reference to this game of all the things last season that LSU did horribly, right? Like from a national perspective, from a local perspective, oh, LSU can't run the football. LSU can't stop a running quarterback. So many of the storylines is about what LSU did so bad a season ago. But I have been waiting to use this one for quite some time. There are some things that Clemson did not do well at all a season ago as well. Last year, and I want to take a look at that. Last year, Clemson defensively, although they had a lot of talent, had some issues on first and second down. They had a lot of issues in between the 20s. The biggest issue for Clemson a season ago came in between the 20s defensively. They gave up a lot of yards in between the 20s. Now, the good thing if you're a Clemson fan, and one thing that we need to pay attention to as LSU fans going into this game on Saturday, they did such a very, very good job of protecting things inside the red zone defensively. Kind of the bend, don't break, and then they would get serious and hold teams to field goals. Now, you would probably think, well, Blake, the one thing that they were atrocious in a season ago, special teams for them was atrocious, and it was. Can Ahmad Anand, the special teams coordinator, find a way to block a kick? Can LSU find a way to block a punt? That could be something that can be a game changer. But there are a couple of things when I look at LSU and I look at Clemson, and one thing that LSU is just going to have to do, well, Blake, they're going to have to run the football. How many times can you say that? That is true. Because last year, the worst thing that Clemson did defensively was give up first downs on first and second down. What's that mean? Guys, a lot of plays happened against Clemson last year in all four games that they lost that teams were able to really, really get a lot of really solid yardage on first down running the football. Clemson was 121st in the country in giving up first downs defensively. 121st. They had to really be stout in the red zone, which they were. But defensively, they played soft. Now, I don't know if that's what they do this year. Is Tom Allen going to bring a lot more pressure? I don't know. But in those first downs that they gave up, and being one of the worst teams in the country defensively and giving up first downs, also prolonged them not being good on third down and really on second down. What teams did to beat Clemson last year, what all four common opponents had, those four opponents had last season, was they ran the football effectively on first and second down. It's what made Clemson get behind the eight ball defensively so much. Schematically, they didn't change. Schematically, Pro Football Focus puts out, their front seven kind of got pushed around in early downs, and when the moment got big on third downs, they were a lot better. Guys, there is no bigger key than being able to find a way to run the ball on first down. None. They know you're going to do it. We all know you're going to do it. Who gives a shit? But guys, in between the 20s a season ago, Clemson played off, and they would just come up and tackle you. I don't know if their new defensive coordinator, Tom Allen, does that, considering how aggressive he was at Penn State. But it's also interesting to point out that when you go and look at Penn State a year ago against teams like Notre Dame, teams like Ohio State, teams that could really stress that Penn State defense, they would play off too. Even more in the running game, it is essential to get any form of yardage on first down. Guys, I don't think that Clemson is going to right all of their wrongs. There were a lot of blown coverages, and this is where it comes into play, and a lot of blown assignments from the safety position in the run game and the pass game last year for Clemson. Of all of the first downs that they gave up, what teams tried to do was attack them in the middle of the field. That's why they were 121st in first downs allowed. I think Trey'Dez Green and Caden Durham and Bauer Sharp play a massive role in getting into the chink of an armor that Clemson had a season ago. Can Sammy Brown be a lot better in coverage? Can Wade Woodass? I don't know. But one thing that I feel like you have a massive advantage of, I don't know if Sammy Brown or Wade Woodass, Sammy Brown maybe a little bit more, I think that you are more athletic at tight end and running back than what they have at linebacker. Now, Wade Woodass and Sammy Brown are really good players. I think you have better athletes. One thing that's very essential to me, and the biggest do, obviously running the football, and we've talked about that a lot. Teams attack them a lot in the middle of the field throwing the football. I think of Tyler Shuck versus Louisville. I think of Quinn Ewers a season ago, and how many times he hit Gunnar Helm. There are so many different times where you saw those blown assignments. LSU has got to use 14, 10, and 29 to utilize that, even if you're not running the football. Check the ball down to Caden Durham for 6. Doesn't matter. Let's get into that 2nd and 4 situation. But I think one of your biggest advantages in this game is getting number 14 and number 10 out in space and saying, keep up with him. Keep up with him. It is going to be very interesting to see how Brian Kelly, Blake Joe Sloan's calling. No. Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan utilize number 14. Guys, if Trey'Dez Green, Bauer Sharp do not have a combined 8 to 9 targets, it will be play calling malpractice. You're going to have to test them in the middle of the field early in the game, because the worst thing that they did a season ago was give up first downs in between the 20s. They were atrocious. They gave up so many yards, even after they fired their DC. And there's one thing that I know, that even when you hire new coordinators, some things just don't get fixed in one off season. 14, 10, and 29 are going to be essential for you to continue to move the ball in between the 20s. Now, you have a problem, or you had a problem last year in the red zone your damn self. Of the touchdowns that team, Clemson, gave up a season ago, want to know how many times the tight end caught touchdown passes? It wasn't a few. Trey'Dez Green is a mismatch between their two linebackers, and you better utilize them. Now, Dabo Swinney, who's got a battle at tight end, is a little bit nervous in that. And he said, we're going to rotate a lot of guys in at tight end. Nobody, per Dabo Swinney, has stepped up and took the position at tight end. It's the reverse for you. You got to utilize what you have better than them. Getting 14 out in space and attacking them with the tight ends will win you this football game. Now, to counteract that, you're going to have to be really damn good in the red zone. It's one of your biggest weaknesses. Let's just call it what it is. It was last year. I did not see anything really this offseason. Well, look, did you see the spring game? Yeah, they were lined up at the 1 yard line. You're going to have to find a way to convert in the red zone, and I'm not talking about 3. You keep kicking field goals, you're going to lose. You got to go get 7. If LSU early is attacking the middle of the field, regardless if it's straight as Green, Balversharp, or Caden Durham, that could be something that I think could be a chink in the armor. Has Tom Allen fixed that? But guys, you can't lie about the stat. 121st in the country in giving up first downs is atrocious in between the 20s. They were also in just 121st in giving up first downs in general. Using 14, 10, and 29 in the pass game is going to be pretty-essential here. A couple other dues. Guys, the last 3 years for LSU, you were atrocious at getting off the field on third down. Now, you were a lot better last year with Blake Baker and getting off the field on third down. And quite honestly, statistically speaking, there were a lot of areas that you improved. You were top 30 in the country in sacks. You were top 30 in the country in havoc rate. You were top 30 in the country in pressure rate. And you're better now. You got to get off the field on third down, which you were not good at. You must get off the field on third down. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now what their game plan is going to be. Their game plan is going to be on first and second down to get chunk yardage and get their players the ball out in space. It's what they've done the last 3 years under the same offensive coordinator. Mesh, drag, stick routes. It's what they're going to do. Then maybe a little swing pass or bubble here or there. When you get into these third and short situations, if you can't get to K. Klubnik, you got to get your hands up and knock the ball away. You got to force them to punt the football. Here's why. Dabo Swinney today said that they do not have a punter that's won a job yet. Special teams can be a scenario and situation when Dabo says, listen, man, we don't have a punter right now. Getting off the field and flipping the field in your advantage in a close game against 2 talented opponents will be massive. Because getting off the field on third down is important anyway. In 3 years under Matt House and Blake Baker, quite honestly, you haven't been good enough. You must get off the field on third down. You got to be – Blake Baker is going to have to literally – utilize every tool in his toolbox to get off the field. If they do, and they get on special teams, you're going to have to force them to get in situations that they don't feel confident in, and you're going to have to do it early. They were atrocious over the middle of the field. They were atrocious on special teams. Getting off the field on third down, which is something you were not good in, is a massive key. Last but not least, for me, and I didn't focus on a lot of the don'ts because in these segments and scenarios, I feel like all offseason we have talked about what LSU just cannot do. We're going to stick with what you got to do. Last year, Clemson was 73rd in the country in allowing tackles for loss. They were leaky on early rundowns, very leaky. Sending and putting pressure on them in the running game is pretty-essential because they were one of the worst teams in the ACC last year at allowing tackles for loss. You have 5 offensive linemen that are returning. Dabo Swinney says today that they have 7 guys that they're going to rotate in and out of there. Well, you have 5 starters returning. Why do you need 2 other guys to rotate in there if you feel confident about where you sit? That offensive line for Clemson, in case you've missed it and have not seen it, They have been very vocal about wanting to go out there and quote unquote dominate your ass, is what they said. Well, then fuck them. You got to go out there and punch them in the mouth. You got to go out there and punch them in the mouth. Because if and when you do that, when you put pressure along their offensive line in the run game, guys, we've seen them be atrocious and leaky in the run game. Without a doubt. Using the middle of the field, getting off the field on third down, and getting and putting pressure on them in the run game is key here. It's their three biggest weaknesses. By far. If you do those three things at a very good rate, you're going to win. And you could separate yourself. All right. The man is in the building. Carter, the Power Bryant, joins us next. Stay with us. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month, and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. We're back. Carter, the Power Bryant. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
Man, Blake, we're here, baby. Locked
it's game week.
It is here. All these off-season breakdowns.
Uh-oh. I think Carter's internet just crapped its pants. Carter, you got me? Oh, no. We're going to wait for Carter to come back. But Carter's internet just completely crapped itself. Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, what are we going to do? Let's get to a couple comments. How about this? Let's get to a couple comments and hope that Carter Bryant joins us in just a few moments. And if not, we'll just talk about some of the things that Dabo Swinney has mentioned. Alex says, stay frosty, best linebacker core in the country. Who's the best linebacker core in the country? Who? You talking about Clemson? If we're talking about Clemson having the best linebacker core in the country, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I do not know. But what I do know is that they will I think they could have their hands full, pause, with Trey Green. Destroy Carnage says, Blake, what's your take on injury questions and answers about the right guard and others? We're going to talk about that in the with Lawton Swan tomorrow. I don't know really what to make with it. All right. It looks like he's back. Did your internet poo-poo itself?
Yeah, I just did a 2-hour show, and then, of course, it pops out right before here, talking to the freaking man, the man I love talking college football with, even when we disagree on topics more than anything else, man. Blake, it's good to be with you. It's finally tackle football week, man. Let's freaking go.
That is true. Can you turn your phone sideways for me? Mega pause. See what it does. Does it change the camera angle? Didn't change the camera angle.
Let me see. I think it does now.
There we go. There we go. All right. Carter the Barrel Bryant joining us. Carter, when you look at this game, I know it's finally game week here. What are your thoughts going into this one? How do you see this one taking place? What do you think is going to happen between LSU and Clemson?
Yeah, Blake, let's start with your third down stat. This has been a problem during the Brian Kelly era. You go back to the very first season opening game. Why did LSU lose to Florida State? Everyone points to special teams and all the chaos that happened there. But Blake, you said it at the time. Our third down defense in that game was horrendous. You couldn't get off the field. And that's been a problem for LSU since then, right? It's plagued all of Brian Kelly's teams. So can you get off the field on third down? Look, Blake, the team that we all point to for having the blueprint of beating Clemson was South Carolina. Their defensive tackles were unfreaking believably good in that game. They did a good job of limiting Phil Maffa and that rushing attack. And I'm tired of Clemson fans reminding us over and over and over again, well, did you know Phil Maffa was hurt? Blake, it's tackle football. Players get hurt. Okay, the bottom line is Clemson just could not run the ball at all versus that South Carolina defense. And that's because their defensive tackles played one of the best games I've ever seen from a group of SEC defensive tackles. And that's what LSU's DTs are going to have to do, because a guy like Cade Klubnik, while he did have some big runs in that game, both of their red zone touchdowns in that game were Cade runs, they did a good job of stopping everything else. And the one thing, when you really look at the throws that Cade completed in that game and some of the other games that they had, they were high-level throws. They were balls where their receivers were making ridiculously tough jump ball types of catches. And all I ask the LSU defense is to make it competitive, right? On reps, make it difficult. Make them have to break tackles. Make them have to juke 2 or 3 different guys. And the clip that I keep going back to, Blake, from that game was when South Carolina, they had 3 really good defensive tackles, but really it was their 4th defensive tackle, number 95. Don't know his name. I looked up his PFF grades, Blake. They weren't really all that great, but he made one of the biggest plays of the game, hustling his ass off to run down a screen by Bryant Wesco in that game. Like, I just want to see this LSU defense playing with their hair on fire, chasing Clemson down and making life difficult for them, because when you do that, they will crack under pressure.
Is there anything specific area that you think Clemson is deficient?
Yeah, I think their offensive line, when they played the better defensive lines, struggled. And that isn't any kind of big revolutionary thing. Normally offensive lines, when they play the better defensive lines, do struggle, right? But I think you and I are both high on really high on Jack Pyburn. There's been a lot of Gabriel Relaford steam recently, Blake, out of LSU's camp.
Not recently. He was my spring player of the year.
Right. You've been really high on him, and
yeah,
I have been as well. I have a great relationship with his father. He is really starting to show out. And man, he made so many big plays last year in the limited action that he actually got. He had the first huge pressure on Jackson Dart in that LSU Ole Miss game from last year. So if this defensive end group, along with Patrick Payton, who of course is more familiar with Clemson than basically anybody on this team, if those guys are who we think they are, I think they actually match up pretty well versus Tristan Lee and the rest of this offensive line. And I understand that a lot of people are really high on this Clemson online because they do return so many snaps from last year. But I do strongly believe that LSU's defensive end room could have a massive day. But it goes back to the defensive tackles. We've heard Bernard Gooden's name, Dominic McKinley getting some national pub on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. And you hear Brian Kelly talk about him. We've heard Jack Pyburn talk about him. Will he be the player that we expect him to be? So as we move closer to game time, Blake, I legitimately feel this way. I feel a lot more comfortable about the LSU defensive line in this matchup, and it could be the group that wins in the game on Saturday.
I know we've talked about a lot of LSU's deficiencies. Is there one deficiency that you're worried about the most?
Yeah, obviously, like we've mentioned left guard, we've mentioned offensive line just in general. I do believe Harold Perkins will work at star this year, but it could be a tough matchup with the Clemson wide receiver group having the three wide receivers that we know that they have. There will be instances where Harold Perkins, if he is legitimately playing the
The
star
green dot.
slash the green dot, if you will, or just the
He's getting the
nickel in
green dot.
general.
He got the green dot.
So if that is the case, that means he's going to be on the field a lot. Uh,
Mhm.
if he is out in space, that's a tough matchup. It's a tough matchup for slot corners versus this wide receiver grouping. So, for me, Blake, that could be tough for LSU in some spots. But if Harold plays the way that he's been playing in practice, it could be a big day for him. So I could see that matchup in particular going either way. And one thing Clemson did do a good job of last year when they gotten their three wide receiver sets with those three wide receivers, they were really good at peppering the slot. And in particular, when they did trips on one side, they were really good at creating matchups and Cade getting the football out quickly and letting his receivers do what they do best.
Mhm. Are you buying any stock from Dabo Swinney when he states that he is very high on his running back room, even though he had to move Adam Randall, the wide receiver, to running back? Because he's brought it up a lot.
Yeah, but I was high on Adam Randall just coming out, right? As a
Mhm.
wide receiver, he was very physically impressive. He had the big play versus SMU on a return to win them that game, and it was big. I mean, they don't win the SMU game at the end there if he doesn't have the 40+ yard return. Where he ran with a lot of power. So this isn't your typical receiver going to running back physically. He does fit the bill, but you then worry about pass protection and all the extra things that you have a running back do. So yes, Adam Randall's team is definitely coming out of Clemson's camp, but I want to see it first. I want to see you making this drastic transition to this position. Can he actually be who the Clemson fans are hyping him up to be?
The biggest deficiency for LSU, and I wonder if Clemson tries to take advantage of this, Carter. If you can't run the ball with Adam Randall, how quickly do you get Cade Klubnik's legs involved after what you saw happen with LSU a season ago?
It's going to be everything, Blake. And here's the thing, you can have him run on you like he ran on South Carolina, and you still find a way to win the game. What you can't have, though, are these 40, 50, 60 yarders that we do know LSU has a tendency to give up, right? Look, I know I made this point a gazillion times in film studies and on your channel. I'm just going to give the most simple word that honestly goes to every single sport. Hustle matters. Okay. South Carolina, there were times where Clemson beat them, right? But they just had guys running people down. They had guys, even when they missed tackles, they were running around with their hair on fire, getting them down and forcing them to convert in the red zone. So if you do that, it can really help out this LSU defense. And one thing I will say, Blake, as far as Cade is concerned, this is an elite deep thrower. This is an elite intermediate thrower. But there are instances where there are some completable passes that Cade just flat out misses. That could definitely put some games away for Clemson last year. So can you force Cade to be in those third down situations where he needs to make that big crunch time pass? We'll see. Garrett in crunch time last year was pretty much money. When you needed a big throw to be completed, he was able to get it done. Cade missed a few. A big one in that South Carolina game. That was a simple slant. Then an early deep ball. Watching Bryant Wesco, who just reminds me so much of a watered down Justin Jefferson, which is a compliment. He missed him on a walk-in touchdown versus SMU that would have blown that game wide open. That miss allowed SMU to come back into the game. So I'm very excited to see what LSU defense could do to force Cade to have to convert big time in crunch time.
I think for in fairness, for both quarterbacks not making massive mistakes, I felt like in our 4 losses, turnovers were a big part of that.
Yeah.
You go on the road and you start turning the ball over, you're in trouble.
Yeah. And that could happen. Garrett Nussmeier versus Texas A&M was a problem, right? And I do think Blake, one of Garrett's biggest things that he is superb at, it's what a lot of the NFL scouts say about him that makes him a true NFL prospect, is sack avoidance. Well, in this game, Blake, taking a few sacks might be a good thing, right? There are going to be some instances where, sometimes you got to take them,
I'm just telling you what Taylor Swift's going to get tonight from Travis.
Oh, he's a hairy man. So it was a big W today for us hairy men out there. Let's go, my fellow Greeks.
Back to LSU Clemson. Continue.
But Garrett does. If we don't need the sacks, oh God, yeah, you got me all. You
taking some sacks will be, don't turn the ball over. Let us punt the football.
Sometimes you just have to do that, right? And there are going to be instances where you just need to do that, right? Roll out to your left, don't throw against your body to a slot receiver that is very much covered, right? For me, I do think, Blake, one area where the LSU receivers will have an advantage is physicality, right? These Clemson defensive backs are not the biggest guys in the world. So some of this, Garrett is just going to need to make some of these deeper balls catchable, right? Give Trey a chance to just go up there and make a play. Give Chris a chance to go up there and make a play. As you've mentioned, deep balls that sometimes you just need to give your receiver a chance to make a play on. And if he does that, LSU should have a really good day through the air.
Clemson was 121st in the country last year at allowing first downs, and teams attacked them in the middle. I think it is play calling malpractice to not have Bauer Sharp and Trey Green have at minimum 10 targets throughout the game. I mean, look, we keep talking about all these different things that LSU was deficient in. I think the biggest thing for LSU and Joe Sloan, they better attack the middle of the football field and get down. Like, Carter, 121st in the country at allowing first downs is not a small thing. That's not – you can call it scheme all you want to. That tells me that you missed a lot of blown assignments.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like you said, you can't attack them over the middle. And to me, Blake, this is where I think LSU can very much win this game. You can beat them throwing to the running backs out of the backfield, which is an extension of your run game. Clemson in all 4 of their losses, they gave up a running back reception of 20-plus yards. The South Carolina game, there was another screen for 17 yards to Rocket Sanders that really got that final touchdown drive going for them. SMU, there was a huge coverage bust on one of SMU's big red zone touchdowns to get them back into that game. Something else is Tom Allen's Penn State defense. In the games that they had some issues defensively outside of the Oregon game, they were giving up some passes to the running backs out of the backfield. And you look at those games, a lot of those running backs are similar profiles to that of a guy like Caden Durham, right? Guys that have home run ability out of the backfield, that can also catch the football out of the backfield. A guy like Bashal Tutin, who's now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, massive reception in the first half of that game, where that Virginia Tech offense was very clunky throughout. So I think that will be the difference, right? Not necessarily throwing the football to the receivers, but like you said, throwing the football to the tight ends, and in particular, throwing the football to number 29, Leaking.
Well, and another thing, because I think Dabo brought this up like 5 times today. He said, listen, they got elite speed out wide with Chris Hilton and Barrion Brown and Aaron Anderson. He called Chris Hilton a rocket ship. He's like, we're going to have to be ready for them to force the ball down vertically. Carter, if they're going to do that, that means those safeties are going to back out. And Trey'Dez Green and Bauer Sharp have got to be open. And you got to get the ball. Yeah. I'm telling you, like, it was and to add on to it, it's the worst thing they did as a team. Defending passes over the middle of the field. Why wouldn't you? That's the first thing I'm attempting. Like, hey, I'm trying to get Trey'Dez Green the ball in the middle of the field and see what happens.
And to your point, Blake, and we've had so many disagreements over Garrett. One thing that is without reasonable doubt true is Garrett is one of the best over the middle throwers of the football I have ever seen at the collegiate level when it comes to anticipation and pace on the ball. It is ridiculous. And I know most people, point to the Ole Miss game. The UCLA game was art in that aspect. So if there is one
UCLA.
thing, right? But it were still ridiculously difficult throws, and UCLA had 2 linebackers drafted in last year's draft. So I do think your point here, throwing to the intermediate middle, could also decide it, especially the benefit of throwing to running backs out of the backfield and throwing to tight ends is those plays tend to happen quicker. And the quicker the throw, the better it is for this offensive line in a tough matchup. Now, I got a question for you, Blake. How do you think this LSU offensive line lines up on Saturday?
I have no clue. I mean, I have some relative clue. I think it's Tyree Adams. I have no idea at left guard. Braylon Moore, Josh Thompson, Weston Davis.
No.
I just have no idea what they're going to do at left guard. And really and truthfully, I don't think Joe Sloan's pedigree, being an air raid guy, that he will stick with the run unless Brian Kelly gets involved. Or, a question that I've had myself all week is, how many times has Alex Atkins prepared for Clemson? When do you go down to his room and knock on his door and say, if you're Joe Sloan, and say, hey, what were all the things that worked on Clemson from a personnel standpoint that you guys hit on? Because he beat the shit out of us, and he called a great game against us twice. What worked against Clemson? I wonder, how much does that get involved? But Carter, the God's honest truth is, you go in there playing pity pat football, you're going to get your ass whooped. You can't walk up in there playing pity pat football. You're gonna get your cheeks clapped.
Got to buckle the damn chin straps. Maybe got to dig those heels in. They got their new
Garrett's got to run the football. I mean, I'm just being real with you. He's got to step up in that pocket and run, and then try to aim at somebody's fucking chin strap. Let's go.
You think Garrett is actually going to scramble in this game if given the opportunity? I think so too. I feel pretty good he's going to. And I think some of it.
And he's going to fall down like a flop fish on a boat in the middle of North Carolina like a big mouth bass. He's going to hit the deck, and I don't blame him. Get down.
Get down. Yeah, don't pull a Jackson Dart in the preseason game recently and get yourself hurt.
Right.
But I do think Garrett is going to run in this game, and I do think there's going to be instances where he has no choice but to. The thing is with the LSU offensive line being mostly really good at pass protection, as a quarterback, you're like, okay, let me just give myself a half second more. This offensive line, there's just going to be instances where their really good defensive line is just going to beat them right off the football. Garrett's going to be forced into a few scrambles, and that might actually be a good thing, right? Because it gets him into doing something that's somewhat outside of his comfort zone. So I do think Garrett's going to have a
Can you repeat that last part? You kind of broke up. What'd you say?
I think Garrett's gonna have a few 10, 15-yard runs in this game.
Ooh.
I think so. I would put the over under Garrett Scramble rushing total for one run. I think he's going to have a double-digit run in this game, at least one.
I hope he does. I mean, it's the biggest thing here. Anything else that you think going into this game that we've talked about it a lot, but is there something that we haven't touched on that we need to talk about?
Yeah, Brian Kelly's under more pressure than Dabo Swinney to win this game.
I agree.
And I do think that plays somewhat of a role. It could be good or it could be bad. But this is it's not even close for me at all. Now, the funny thing about it, Blake, is this is a way bigger game for the ACC than the SEC. Like, the ACC really needs to have this W. Clemson at home, prime time. We can discuss the playoff format all we want. The truth is, I don't think the playoff committee wants to give the ACC the benefit of a doubt. And having what a lot of people consider to be the number 4, number 5 team in the SEC going on the road and beating your clear-cut favorite team, it's not going to be something that's a death knell to the ACC, but they really need it when it comes to the playoff debate, because the committee was pissed at what SMU did. The committee was pissed at what Indiana did in that playoff, and they want Alabama. They would prefer Ole Miss. They would prefer South Carolina, not only for a more competitive game, but a potential bigger brand name. So the ACC really, really, really needs Clemson to win this game. And one more thing, Blake, as we do move closer to this game, I want everyone to just enjoy this feeling, right? College football is changing so much. The conference format is going to change, all of that. But this is just crazy, right? LSU playing in Death Valley for this game. I just never would have thunk I would have seen LSU playing Clemson. I mean, this is just an iconic matchup, and we should cherish it. And you don't get home and homes, right? This has neutral site written all over it, right? You would think that this game would be played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but this is being played as college football should be played, on campuses, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, either you're going to have one or two outcomes from a PR standpoint. Brian Kelly finally gets over the hump, wins a week 1, or you know what the other's going to be.
Are you in panic mode? Are you personally, Blake, Frederick, Theodore, Ruffino, are you in panic mode if LSU loses this game?
I'm not in panic mode, but I do think that this game versus Clemson is a defining game in the sense of, if you go out there and you win, you show people the moves that you made in the offseason worked. You show the development of Garrett Nussmeier. You show that Brian Kelly might actually have LSU on the right track. You get the 500-pound gorilla that everybody during the offseason, can 100 men beat a gorilla? Well, you get that big gorilla off of your back for once. You actually can defeat a gorilla. Okay. So you got to get some level of respect. And I don't think that this program right now is respected as much as it used to be. But here's the thing. It's not feared. Not right now. You got to go strike the fear of God in them, because I remember Urban Meyer, like, say whatever you want about Les Miles. Urban Meyer coming out and saying, dude, when we got off the bus and we saw LSU, we knew that we were going to get beat up even if we won. You got to continue to do that. That's what great teams do. But I think that this more than anything is a program definer from the beginning, from Jump Street. So who are you as a program? I think if you win, defines a lot, and if you lose, defines a lot, because you know what it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And for me, Blake, I do think how LSU plays in this game will tell us a lot of who Brian Kelly is as a coach. Because, one thing I will say, outside of like prime Saban, Alabama, LSU just rarely got blown out. You know, like I don't like getting blown out. And I understand for a lot of people, it's a black and white thing. It's either we won the game or we lost the game. But I think we can all agree that if you get your ass kicked, that is a sign of not good preparation or that your roster isn't where it needed to be or a mixture of both. Okay. For you to spend as much as you spent on this roster and put so much of your focus on Clemson, right? Having it be the only team on the schedule in the team meeting room when they scrimmage 1-0 on the jumbotron a few weeks ago. You know, to have so much laser focus on this game and to get players from the ACC that has played against Clemson, get coaches that have played against Clemson. I can live with LSU losing this game. And I want everyone listening to your show to understand that Clemson is indeed a very good team. One thing that would be very hard for me to accept, Blake, is if we get our asses kicked. That just can't happen. There's just been too many blowouts versus teams that aren't teams you should be losing by double digits to. I understand we were up 17-7 versus Texas A&M last year. Never in a million years should you lose that game by double digits in the end, right? Where you just played horrible for one half after playing really good for the first. Alabama, 42-6. Tennessee, all the way back in 2022. Was that team really good? Yes. You shouldn't have gotten blown out like that on your home field, even though it was that early in your tenure. You can excuse one or two of these or a few here or there, but I just don't want to see that. I can live with the close loss because this team is really good and we are going on the road and there are a bunch of new pieces, but I don't know how I would deal, Blake, with the 38-17 loss.
Do you think if LSU loses this game, they can make a playoff still? Like,
Yes.
or is it going to be a situation where you slip up in some games that you're not supposed to?
Yeah, so I have my full schedule here. We've gone over this. I've done 3 different iterations of how I think the SEC is going to play out. I look at a bunch of historical trends, back-to-back road games that I've used quite a bit. And I do have LSU at 9-3. And I do have LSU eking into the playoff at 9-3. And I do have LSU losing to Clemson and still making the college football playoff. But the SEC being the way that it is, if the ball bounces your way this year, yeah, you could still make it. You know, it's always going to be hard for any team with 3 losses to actually get into a 12-team playoff field. But I think that they can still make it. But it goes back to how they actually look in this game. If we know, and Blake, your audience of what, 400 people that are in here right now, 500, 600?
820 or 1,827.
Right. I was just looking at the YouTube numbers.
All right. No, we're on Facebook and Twitter too.
Right. If you look at what the committee has said, and knowing that last year, so much of how the playoff field was how many losses did you have, right? With there being a bunch of teams that many in the national media feel good about roster-wise, take a school like Florida, take a school like Oklahoma, a school like LSU. You know, I think, Blake, most sharp people, whether it's sports betting or football people, personnel people, they feel good about those rosters, right? You would like to think that one of those teams, as a competitive 9-3 team, is probably going to make the field, knowing that their schedules are as tough as they are. So, with us knowing that the SEC and the committee has admitted, hey, we're going to take strength of schedule more into the equation, I do think a subjective eye test could start to come into this playoff field, and that you could see a 9-3 LSU get in over an 11-1 Indiana or an 11-1 team from the ACC.
They've changed the playoff format, or not. They didn't change the format. They changed what they thought about teams the last 2 years. 2023 Florida State, and last year saying that wins are the only thing that matters. So I hear what you're saying, but I need to see them put a 9-3 team in that face a tough schedule before I'll believe it.
Dude, if there's anyone that is on a crusade about this, it is you. And I'm in agreement with you. I know this is our strongest disagreement, our biggest disagreement from our show last week. I'm fine with one automatic qualifier, but Indiana, I can't do that again. I can't.
We can't do SMU again either.
Right. If you lose that conference championship game, and you don't actually look impressive, because SMU did have a lot of just ridiculous wins. That Pitt game I still think about from time to time. Uh, you do feel a lot different about those schools. So I do have LSU at 9-3, and I do have LSU making the college football playoff.
So Clemson, and who are the other two losses before I get you out of here?
I have them losing the finale on the road at Oklahoma, and I have a loss at Alabama. So 3 losses on the road. I do think wins over Florida, Ole Miss, A&M, Arkansas, South Carolina. You would need a lot of chaos. Obviously, you would feel better if it's a win versus Alabama and maybe a loss to South Carolina or someone like that, because that would be a higher marquee victory, and it would also be later in the season. But I do think a 9-3 LSU will find a way to get in, a first timer. Let's go.
Just win game 1. That's all I care about. All right, Carter. Thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
All right, buddy. Let's do it. Let's go.
Carter the Power Bryant. Always gracious for his time with us. Broad 337 out in Hawaii says, Blake, who's our number 3 receiver? Anderson, Hilton, or Parker? You can make the argument that based off of what we saw in camp, Bryant was 2A or 2B, and Chris was 2A. I think it really depends on what personnel they have and what they're doing. Really and truthfully. So, look, we'll see. I am of the opinion that your best receiving core right now, based off of what we've seen, is Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, and Barion Brown. Based off of what we saw in camp. We haven't seen much with the ones with Nick Anderson. And really and truthfully, guys, look, I'm not saying go 12, 13 personnel or anything like that, but you're going to have a tight end in the game. And Brian Kelly said on Monday, when Trey Green is covered, he's wide open, meaning that you got to get him the football. And guys, I will tell you this. We'll talk about this a lot on Thursday. You got to get to the middle of the field and get down 6, 7, 8, 9 yards. Try to get a first down, sure. But I think the middle of the field can be wide open for you. And quite frankly, you got to get the ball to number 14 and 10 out in space, because I don't know if Woodaz, let me give an example. I am trying to utilize Trey Green versus Wade Woodaz, because I don't think that Gunnar Helm is a better athlete than Trey Green is. Actually, I know that he's not. And they couldn't cover his ass. They simply could not cover him. They kept running out routes with Gunnar Helm in the second half, and they kept going back to it. They kept going back to it from a big slot receiver. Like when Woodaz was lined up on someone, they attacked Wade Woodaz. So, we talk about receiving core. For me, I think you got to get these tight ends involved early. And listen, let me say this too. Trey Green and Bauer Sharp, I don't – listen, I've heard everybody talk about Bauer Sharp's been very good. He's been consistent. But the God's honest truth is they got to catch the football. They've had some dropsies. After the Scarborough question about Bauer Sharp not catching everything in sight, he had some dropsies. Catch the ball. Better catch the ball. So we'll see. I mean, another thing, I'm trying to get to this comment here, Brandon. The other thing is Xavion's had a lot of run, but he's had a lot of run because Aaron's been in and out. Dr. Butler, a member on the YouTube channel, says that if Tigers beat Clemson, get on a roll. OU not good. Yeah, you got to beat. I mean, listen, you have to beat them week 1 without a doubt. Without a doubt. LB Dole says, trust me, they'll use Xavion in running sweep formations. Well, it's Xavion, but yes, I think they will. I think they're going to motion him back in the backfield. I mean, they're going to use number 0 is going to play. He's going to play. Carver says, I'm going speed with the 2 tight ends. It legitimately has it could be a big deal for you. Nick had 800 yards, 10 touchdowns at OU as a freshman. Just can't see Parker with no stats ahead of that or Xavion. Well, Mike, you're going to it's not about – here's what I'd say to you, Mike. It's not about what you think versus what we've seen. Mike, he was injured on Saturday. So whether we think he is going to be better than those guys, you can think he is. He also missed all last year with an injury. He didn't participate in the spring, and he was injured on Saturday. Does he get the football at all? They've used Xavion Thomas more than damn near everybody this camp. So it's not about what we think versus what we know. And what we know is that Nick Anderson has not taken a lot of reps with Garrett Nussmeier right now. Just hasn't happened. So where do we go from there? Where do we go from there? If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The 5 wide receivers that have run with the ones the most: Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Xavion Thomas, Barion Brown, and Kyle Parker. Nick Anderson has not taken a lot of reps with the ones. If you're throwing him out there, they have not – Garrett and Nick have not gotten a lot of reps together. So it's not about what you think based off of some stats 2 years ago. What it really is what have they been doing? If they don't have confidence in it in practice, you're wanting them to run it out there in the game, and maybe it does work. But we have not seen that yet to dictate that. Jordan says, I want to see more of Parker. Got to catch the ball. I mean, that's why he hasn't been able to take over, because he's been dropping the ball way too much. Bingo says returners, Barion Brown and Aaron Anderson or Xavion. I would think it's going to be Barion and Xavion personally. What they did do is that I saw them do was put Barion back there and then put Caleb Jackson as a lead blocker. So we'll see. We will see what it is they ultimately do. All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a blessed night. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.